Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. We'll just give it another 2 minutes and wait for folks to join in, and then we'll start this bootcamp. Okay, great. I think we can get started. We have quite a few folks already online. Thank you, everyone, for joining in and taking this time to go on to yet another virtual meeting. I know everyone's been doing a lot of the virtual webinar boot camps, workshops, etc., and there's a lot of Zoom fatigue going around. So really appreciate you guys joining today. First, let me just start by introducing myself, and then I'll set the context for the next hour or so of this bootcamp session that we are conducting. My name is Hira Jayachandran. I am the head of tech at Wilgrow. I manage the technology platforms, and which is why the Innovator Solver platform is part of one of the big things that I've been looking at over the last 6-8 months. Um, uh, Going into what we are doing today, this session is basically to familiarize everyone with the Innovators Solver challenge, which Wilgrow has launched a couple of about a week back. Give you a quick update on what the challenge is. What are we looking for in terms of entries from participants from the people who are registering on our platform? What is there in it for you? What are the incentives, rewards that can come out of this challenge for each of you innovators, entrepreneurs, etc.? And also to quickly kind of do a walkthrough of the platform that we're using basically to get all the entries for the challenge, so that it kind of gives you an understanding of how you can go about the whole process of documenting your problem, understanding your problem statement, kind of bringing it to a state where it can be easily pitched to a jury. And of course, the jury is going to kind of decide which is the best, who is kind of articulated their problem statement best, and who's kind of able to kind of explain what problem they're solving and how they plan to solve it. So quickly, let me just start by sharing my screen, take you through about a few slides on what the whole Innovator Challenge um, event is about. So what is the challenge? This We've rolled out this challenge for anyone who is working on an idea, or who has an idea, or who's looking to solve a problem in a social context. You could be a student, you could be a mature entrepreneur who's going back to the drawing board, looking to either refine your solution, or even start looking at other problem areas that you've been exposed to. It's open to researchers, design thinkers. It's open to established startups. If you are a registered startup or a team of people who've kind of registered your startup but still don't have a product in the market, you're most eligible to take part in the challenge. So it's basically anyone who's involved in any kind of an ethnographic study. You can come on, register for our Innovator Solver challenge, start working on your problem statement, figure out what your final presentation is going to be. Everyone is welcome to start using the platform immediately. What do we hope to achieve by this? One, the main thinking around having this kind of a challenge open to a lot of idea stage innovators is that we have seen in Wilgrow, when we have been working with various incubators and with various startup companies who are working in the social space, we have seen that quite often there is no systematic guidance that is available for people to go from step one to step two to step three and finally figure out what is the problem that they are solving. So that's the whole thinking behind Innovators Solver, which is a platform which we've developed. It's an asset that we have created that is available for anyone who wants to start working on their idea. So it gives you a step-by-step approach on how you can actually deep dive into your problem, how you can actually understand your problem statement, how you can actually chart out the whole workflow of your problem area. Who are the players? Who are the people who are actually facing pain points? Whose problems are you actually solving? Get a whole a very holistic picture of what kind of problem area or a problem ecosystem that you are planning to work in. Of course, this is the target is much very early in the whole life cycle. So you probably just have a one statement idea of it's something that probably you have been working in or something that you have seen firsthand. Say your somebody who works with you or your maid's child is not able to read English properly. So you come up with an idea saying that, okay, I would like to have a very gamified app that could teach someone who's not familiar with English at all, something that can help them learn English fast. So that's just an idea that you have. How do I go? What do I do with this idea now? How do I go? What is the next steps? I mean, I have an idea, but what do I do next? So the platform kind of helps you go to the next step. So the next step would be identify who are your target audience, who's the market that you want to work with, what are their pain points, define your hypothesis. There is some level of business logic that's built into the platform, which will kind of throw red flags as you go down the whole life cycle, saying that, okay, you haven't met these kind of people, you haven't interviewed these kind of people, so you need to go out and actually meet with them and see if this is really a problem that you're solving. So the challenge is to kind of open out this platform, one, to everybody who's working on an idea, to help to bring in your ideas onto the platform, to basically help any early stage inventor define their problem statement, generate the insights, and come out with a final summary of your problem, which not only in terms of in the scope of the challenge is the presentation to our jury, but something that you can actually take out when you're talking to investors, or when you're talking to incubators, or when you're meeting with a mentor, or you need to make a presentation to your faculty in your college. It's a final output that can actually be taken to anyone, saying that this is my problem, this is how I've analyzed it, these are my main outputs, and this is my solution for this problem. So this challenge, of course, there is the chance to win really exciting rewards, and that's the incentive of taking part in the whole Innovator Solver challenge. Moving on, just quickly to cover the timelines. The registrations are open right now, open till the end of next week, that is April 15th. From the 16th to 30th, everyone who has registered on the platform on the Innovators problem solution landscape. So it's during these 2 weeks that we at Wilgrow will also provide you with a lot of information. We will provide you with ways in which you can make your final pitch refined and kind of help complete your analysis on your problem statement. So by the 30th, everyone, whatever submissions have been received on the platform is what will be taken for the shortlisting process. We do a review of all the submissions by the Wilgrow team, as well as we're forming a jury of varied personal, like they were trying to get in people, entrepreneurs who have actually gone down this route and we have had them also on our platform before, so they know what are the pain points in actually doing the problem understanding, etc. So we're formulating a jury who will help us with the shortlisting of the submissions. Once we shortlist the submissions, those shortlisted candidates will come up with a jury presentation, and it's going to be virtual. We have the challenge is basically we're having two categories. So you could be an individual entrepreneur, an innovator, an academic, a design thinker, a student, someone who just wants to work on a solution for a glaring problem. So it could be an individual entry or an innovator entrepreneur entry, or it could be a group, meaning it's a startup entry. So you could be a registered startup, and for legal purposes, since there is a reward involved in this, you do need to have like some sort of a registration for your company. So it would need to be like either a GST or a company registration, etc. Because we are giving a reward to a startup or a team category. So these are the rewards: 1 lakh for the first prize individual entry, 50,000 for the second, and similarly on the group entries, it's 2 lakhs for the first prize and 1 lakh for the second prize. So these are the timelines and the incentives in the whole challenge. What are we looking for in terms of when we see the submission? So this is just a broad guideline, and as we get the jury members onto our on board, we will be discussing what are the other things that we want to actually look at. But at a high level, we're going to look at the completeness of your solution. It's not, I mean, we're looking at idea stage, so you obviously don't have like blueprints and you don't have orders, etc. So you're really idea stage, so you're really just starting at the drawing board. But how well have you articulated your idea? What is your problem statement? Who are the people that you are trying to solve a problem for? How have you created or framed your hypothesis? There is a feature in the platform wherein you can do a very graphical landscaping of the entire problem statement. So that's going to be one of the key things. How well have you charted out the entire landscape? Where does your problem start? Who are the players in each stage? What is the actual solution? Which is the boundary of your solution? What are the expected outputs from that? So how are you going to depict that whole problem landscape graphically? And that's something that we're going to look at quite keenly to see how you're actually able to articulate your problem understanding. Basically, also things like how deep has the analysis been. So there are a few places in the platform wherein we can actually quantify how deep the analysis has been. Like how many interviews have you, how many actor types have you defined, how many interviews have you gone out and done, how many of your pain points have been validated during interviews. So we do have a fairly quantified way of actually a quantified rubric to be able to actually look at this and look at your submissions in a very fair and equitable manner. So this is about the challenge. I'm just looking at the questions to see if there is anything about the challenge before I actually go into the tool demo. Can startups, Sujit has asked if can startups with product in the market participate? Of course you can participate, but we're looking more at how you're articulating your problem statement, and we're hoping the main thing about directing everyone to our platform is that we're hoping that even though you have a product in the market space, there are additional insights that the tool can throw out for you. It could complement what you're doing. It could be something that you haven't looked at before. It could be a validation of what you have actually built your product to. So there is no caveat that products pre-revenue stage startups cannot take part. You're most welcome to take part, but we're looking at it on how you are articulating your problem and how you have actually done your analysis on the problem statement, so that we're able to understand whether you're actually solving a issue that is there in the ecosystem today. Ekanto has asked, do the participating team need to register their company to be selected for the program, or they can register towards the mid of the program? Yeah, so you can register. I mean, so by the time if you finally do the final submission, yes, you will need to have a registration. That's when you will be eligible for the final reward, because it's a reward that we're giving from will grow to another startup. It's fine if you do the registration toward the mid of the program. I'll just need to check whether the platform allows for you to update those registration details after the registration. But yeah, I will take that as a feedback to the development team. But yeah, it's fine as long as at the time of submission the startup is registered. Yeah, there are a few more questions. How to apply for the program? I will quickly show you how you can apply for the program. The key areas I have just gone through. If you have any further questions on that, please just post it in the chat box and I will answer them. I will quickly take you to the website and how you can actually register, etc. for the challenge. Let me just stop sharing this. Yeah, so just I've just logged into the platform here, but I'm going to actually show you the website where you can go. So the website is Innovators Challenge, sorry, Innovators Solver challenge.willgrow.org. So this is the website and the microsite, which has all the information about what the challenge is, your eligibility criteria, what are the timelines, everything is available on this website. Over here, you will see the option to register. So once you click on this register, you will be taken to the platform. So you will actually be taken to a login page like this. And this is where you start your actual entry of information into the platform. So this is our Innovator Solver platform, and the one which I showed before is just the microsite with all the information. If you haven't already, go ahead and create an account. It asks you for some basic details. You can select whether you're doing a team or on a startup entry, or you're doing an individual. There is no caveat on the number of entries you put in. Just to make things easier, you can have one login, but inside the platform you can create multiple problem statements and do individual submissions for each of them. So even though I have created one account as hira@willgrow.org, I can still go into the platform with the same email ID and do multiple submissions. So I can say that I'm actually working on 3 problem areas and I want to submit all these 3 problem statements for the challenge. So there is no restriction on the number of submissions per registration. If you are a team or a startup, it does ask you for these registration information. I will, Ekanta, based on your feedback, I will make sure that we are able to put in at least nil or 0 at the time of registration, but at the time of submit, it will be something that will have to be updated. Any questions relevant? Yeah, the session is being recorded and it will be shared with all the participants here. Ekanto, I don't understand what OPC is. If you could just probably just put it in the chat, I will get back to you on that. So logging in, this is my test account, and as I said before, you can have multiple problem statements that you're working on, and for the sake of the challenge, it's fine if you submit more than one problem statement. But I mean, it has more value if each of the problem statements are completely different and they're just not flavors of the same problem that you're working on. Typically what you do is first add a project, and I've already added my project. So I'm just going to take this project one as a example to take you through the whole thing. But your first step would be to add a project. Now all through the solver there is a help option. So please go ahead and just have a look at it. It's going to guide you step by step on what you need to do in each of the screens, and what gives you a little information on how better you can put in the information into the platform. So have a look at the help, and it kind of takes you through the whole thing. So now your first step would be to add a project, which would just have a title and a basic description. So these are all the projects that I've already added and have in my testing and various demos and interactions with other entrepreneurs. I'm just going to take this project one as an example. Now if you go into the launch, you will see the 8 steps that we've been talking about in all our social media posts. What are the 8 steps that you're going to go through in order to do the whole problem understanding and analysis? Now, the steps are: first, you define your problem, then you do a deep dive analysis by creating the hypothesis around the problem. The third step is to define your actors and the non-living entities that are part of your problem statement. So, who are the actors? Are they the direct beneficiaries of your intended solution? Are they people who are actually going to create part of your product? Are they people who are going to be suppliers of raw materials, etc.? So any kind of actors, just go wild and put in everything that you can think of in the beginning. Who are all the people that I'm going to start interacting with? Who are all the people who are going to be within the boundaries of my problem? Similarly, for non-living entities, what are the other non-living infrastructural requirements in my problem statement? I need a warehouse, I need a factory to create the implements, or I need transportation, I need buses, I need servers, I need AWS cloud account, etc. Any kind of infrastructural requirements. The fifth step is the interviews. So this is one of the key things that we're going to be looking at, because interviews is always been found, we found that it is very important for any entrepreneur working on a problem to go out and actually meet the people who they are trying to solve, the problems who they're trying to solve, meet them, talk to them, understand, are we actually on the right track? And we have a lot of stories at Will Grow where key people haven't been interviewed. Like there is a great product, there is a great intended social impact for that product, but one key player is not, you don't go and actually meet one key player, and that kind of breaks down the whole hypothesis of what you're trying to build. So interviews is key, and from a challenge perspective also, the interviews, how many interviews for each of these actors you've done, how many people in each of these infrastructural requirements that you've identified, how many of them have you actually gone and met, what kind of insights have come out of those interviews, etc. So I'll quickly go into this once I finish the overview. So I'll tell you what are the key things that we'll be looking at. Then comes the environment map, which I was talking is a graphical graphical representation of how you want the whole how your whole problem environment looks. Who are all these actors? How do they fit into the overall landscape? How are they interacting with each other? What are the pain points? What is your solution? Which part of the entire problem area are you planning to build as your solution? Then, of course, the market understanding, which is something that all entrepreneurs, startups do. Understanding your competitors, understanding which geographies you want to work in, and in those geographies, what are the problem? What is the market potential market size? Who are the competitors, etc. And of course, the final problem summary. And this is the summary of all the information that you have put in. I'll take these questions as I go through each of the sections. So defining the problem, fairly straightforward. Just a set of sectors that we would like to collect information at Will Grow for. So it's kind of a bunch of sectors that we work in. It could be cross sector. It need not be mapped to any particular sector. What is the problem statement basically? Who's facing it, and how severe is it? Is it urgent and critical, not urgent but critical, etc.? So basically just some basic information on your problem statement. So this is step 1. Step 2 is defining the certainties, assumptions, and doubts about your problem. So this is where you start working on your problem analysis, defining the hypothesis around your problem. So what are you certain about? What are your basic assumptions, and what are the doubts? So these are things that will keep coming up through the platform, especially when you're doing the interviews. Have you actually clarified any of your doubts during the interviews? Have your assumptions been validated during the interview? So this first level of documenting your hypothesis around the problem is important, because it kind of feeds into the rest of the modules. And for each of these, when you are defining the hypothesis, the certainty or the assumption or the doubt, you can put in tags. So there are certain built-in tags, and things like market specs is what will kind of get pulled up in your final summary. So a lot of these other tags will be can be used for summaries, can be used for searching, can be, so if you're going to tag a bunch of these things as product requirements, or it's something that you think are going to feed into your final product, put in the tags here. So how this may not be something that you have immediately as soon as you start working on this, but as you kind of iterate through the whole thing, you may get more clarity on, okay, fine, actually these certainties would definitely feed into my final product when I'm going to build it. Or these could actually be market specs, as in this is a market specification saying that this household needs this kind of a digester. That's a market spec which I need to keep in mind as I start designing my product. So put in your certainties, assumptions, and doubts. As I said before, there is a descriptive help. There are some videos over here that will help you understand what do you need to document as a certainty. What is the difference between the assumption and a doubt? So have a look at the help. Have a look at the videos. Start putting in your information here. Step 3, define the actors. So for each, now I have a bunch of actors here, and I have tagged them with various tags. So it could be a user, it could be a beneficiary, it could be your a customer, it could be someone that you have to buy stuff from, it could be a supplier, etc. So, but put in as many tags as you can, which kind of help in describing the actor better. And also you can actually kind of put in select icons, etc. And these icons kind of make your map a little more easy to understand, a little more graphic, a little more fun to look at. So this is the actor definition. Now defining the actors is not enough. Now each of these players in your landscape will have you need to develop a hypothesis around them. So that is this what we're calling as a HAP, which is the hypothesis, the attributes, and the pain points. Now for this end user household, what is my hypothesis? What kind of a persona is this particular actor? So the reason why we are saying like put in as much detail as you can is because this helps in actually when you go out and do your market analysis, when you go out and meet people. And I think someone's asked a question about survey questions. It's yeah, it's fine, you can do online surveys, but how just kind of pull in the main information. So if you have an actor and you're sending out sending out a survey to 20 of them, it may be a little cumbersome for you to put in all 20 interview information into the system, but at least have a summary of those surveys in the system. But for each of those actors, this defining the overall, what is the actor, what is the persona, what are the attributes? Are they rural, are they urban, are they small families, are they joint families, are they English speaking families? What are the attributes of those actors, and what are the pain points? Because if your actor has no pain point, then what are you solving for? It's not there is no problem at all. So what exactly is the solution that you're going to give? So what are the pain points that they are having? So it may not be that all actors have pain points, but your end beneficiary should definitely have a pain point, because you're trying to solve a problem for someone and your solution is going to benefit anyone. So basically, if you have someone who's tagged as a beneficiary, typically that particular actor would have a pain point. So these kind of cross-referencing of these values is something that we will look at when we're looking at the final submission. Again, please go ahead and please use the help and go through the videos, etc. They're quite descriptive and gives you information on how you can actually identify what are the hypotheses around each of your actors. Similarly, any non-living or any infrastructural requirements in your problem statement, it's basically the same process. You may have infrastructural, you may not have infrastructural, but if you do have, put it in here, and then we'll see how it actually feeds into the rest of your problem, into the rest of the analysis. Now, coming to the interviews. Now, this section has interviews by each of the actor types. So I've done 2 manufacturer interviews, 2 seller interviews, and you can see these are the actors that I have defined here. So I've not done interviews for any of these, and that's what you can see in this summary, that I have 0 interviews for each of these actor types. But I've done 2 manufacturer and I've done 3 on the seller. But a lot of the other actors I've not gone ahead and interviewed. Similarly, on the infrastructural, some of my infrastructural requirements have been covered in the interviews, and most of them have not. So when I'm looking at this as a summary, I would definitely think that, okay, fine, I haven't done deep enough analysis. I really need to go and meet let's say, for example, I need to go and meet the end user household. I've not met any of my end users, so I really need to go and meet them and see, am I really on the right track before I actually spend all my get investment and start working on the product. So coming back to interviews, these are basically these are the people, the actual interviewees. The interview summary is just basic information. A lot of it is not mandatory, but things like location, date, etc. are some of the things that you will need to put in, just so that you have a record of it. And just this platform is not something that we built only for this challenge. We built to actually take it out to any network of entrepreneurs. So it's going to be available even post the challenge for anyone to actually come in and work on. So this is where you kind of say, okay, this interview, Mr. A. Rana, is actually mapped to this particular actor type, and or it could be mapped to a particular infrastructural requirement. So this is where the cross referencing between each of the interviews and your actor types actually happens. Similarly, you need to kind of cross-reference your problem hypothesis. So under problem analysis, we did the certainties, assumptions, and doubts. And we under each of the actors, we did the hypothesis, attributes, and pain points. So these 2 sections, number 2 and 3, is where you kind of check whether whatever you have, whatever your hypothesis, whatever your assumptions are they actually validated in any of the interviews. So it's just a quick drop down selection of, yes, I for this particular manufacturer kind of an actor, these are the hypothesis, attributes, and pain points that I've defined. Now, have I actually validated any of these during the interviews? Yes, no, it's not applicable. The person has said that, okay, I'm not necessarily a factory owner, even though I'm a manufacturer, I'm not the owner. It's not applicable. Or they might be like, yes, this person is actually the owner of the factory, not just leasing out the properties, etc. So kind of just do a quick cross check between what you've documented in the problem analysis. Similarly, in the actor hypothesis. Similarly, for the problem analysis, we have done the certainties, assumptions, and doubts, right? Where you're building your hypothesis around your problem statement. Now, this is where you see whether your solution or your understanding of the problem is actually being validated by the people that you're actually meeting. So yes, these certainties have been validated, this assumption has been validated. Now some of the doubts are still very open, so I haven't got those validated, or nobody has said that actually these are this could be a doubt, this could be some sort of a problem when I actually come out with my product or service. But yeah, but basically do this kind of cross-checking to see whether your hypothesis one is right, and whether you're able to validate whatever you are thinking or whatever your understanding of the problem is with actually meeting the people. So now if you are running surveys, it's fine, you can do online surveys, but make sure that your surveys actually cover your hypothesis. So you are asking questions in your hypothesis, that in your surveys, that actually cover whatever you've documented over here. So now if you're saying that these are the benefits of my product, and that is definitely an assumption that I'm going to build my final product on, add a question in your survey, or at least have some way of you being able to get that information from the actors who are answering the surveys. So it need not be, and it's very difficult now, I understand, for people to actually go out and interview different stakeholders. If it's online survey, it's fine, but you will need to have some way of making sure that your survey covers information that you have put in as your actor hypothesis or your problem hypothesis. Coming back to the interviews, so this is number 2 and 3, and finally outputs from the interviews. So if you once you run your whether you're doing physical interviews or whether you're doing phone interviews or you're running surveys, what are the key insights that have come out of that? So you look at the data and probably say, okay, fine, most of the people are saying that in the rural area internet is a problem, so that's going to affect my solution vastly. I'm going to need to have a way of having very low bandwidth for my app. So anything that comes out as key insights, put it in here. Now, one thing that we found helps when documenting your insights that come out of the interviews is that the type of the insight or the type of the need. So has it been explicitly said by the person, like has Mr. Rana said, yes, internet is a problem, so then that becomes a stated need? Or is it something that is implied, like he would have said, it sometimes it comes and goes, yes, I have a dongle in my house, so that's okay, but you understand that maybe that's not the same for everyone in his area or in his village, etc. So it could be a stated need, it could be an implied need. You can prioritize the insights, and this kind of also features in how the final summary is kind of laid out. Of course, everywhere there are tags, and things like especially the market specs tag plays an important role when you're in the final summary which you'll be submitting, because that kind of pulls out information from across all the sections, saying that these are the main market specifications that you need to work on when you start deciding your prototyping cycle or when you start deciding your product features. These are the main market specs that you're going to be looking at. Now, the next step would be to draw out your environment map. Now, this is a fairly graphical version of being able to visualize where does your entire workflow start and where does it end, and which is going to be my problem solution, which is going to be my solution area. So I'll just expand this a little bit. So this some example one which I have put in here. On the left, you can see all the acts that you have defined. So it pulls in whatever you've defined over there, all the infrastructural requirements that are there. There are some standard icons, etc., like servers, cars, buses, road, etc. If you want to pull it in, flowchart shapes, mind maps, etc., swim lanes. But basically, the thought process is that you can drag and drop each of these things onto your map and build up the relationship. So now in this particular map which I've created as a sample, you can see how it works. As in, we start with the manufacturer, sells to the seller, there is a kind of a decision box, there is some information, some text, these are my main users, and then finally this kind of says that this is my solution. So now in my solution I'm going to have all these things, like I'm going to manufacture a digester, there'll be some data output from that, and then I need to build an analytics dashboard, and then who's going to use this is not shown on this map, so that's some kind of a gap on the whole map, but then kind of gives a whole idea of what problem you're going to solve. So this is going to be fairly important when you do your final submissions and when the jury is looking at it, to see how visually attractive your map is. And if you look at this past results, this kind of does a lot of cross-referencing on all the information put here. So it gives you a summary of all the red flags that are there in your problem at this particular point. Now, for example, this actor, I have an actor called Test, and he has not been added on the map. So I've defined that person as a actor, but he's not faring anywhere in the entire workflow. So why do you have this person? Have you actually missed out adding him in the workflow? Does he feature somewhere? Are his pain points validated, etc.? So kind of look at the past results, which is kind of runs on a very simple engine at the back end, which kind of says, okay, these are the actors who you've not used in the map. These are the actors used, but I have not done any interviews. So this is a big gap. You haven't actually gone out and met these particular actors, so you don't know whether they're actually have a problem to be solved, whether all your assumptions are right, whether your hypothesis is right, etc. Now, there are some actors who have no pain points documented, or there are actors whose pain points are documented but have not been validated during the interview. So I showed you at the interview log the screen where you can say validated, not validated, etc. So that's what this works on, saying that these actors, you've got pain points but you haven't validated. So are you on the right track of the entire problem solution that you're looking at? Similarly, on the doubts and assumptions that have been documented for your problem. These are doubts and assumptions which you have not validated in any interview. So you either need to go out and meet more people in these who will kind of give the information on whether yes, you're on the right track, no, you're not on the right track. You need to make a little change in how on what your solution is. So iterate a little bit, see what is missing. Have a look at the past results, see where the main gaps are, what are the things that you need to actually go and check again. The next is a market understanding, and this is fairly straightforward. It's just documentation of all the competitive analysis, which areas you're going to work in, what are the prevailing practices, any summary after studying the competitors, etc. Just mostly information that you will be putting in, and from a jury perspective, yes, they'll look at all this to see how complete your market understanding has been. And this is the final summary, which is a lot of information that is thrown up by the platform, some statistics on where you are at in your overall problem journey, how your problem hypothesis has been validated in various interviews. So now you see that some of my doubts have not been validated at all in any of the interviews. You've done 2 interviews, but it's not been validated in any. A summary on the actors, how many interviews have been done, maps how many have been added in the map, what are the tags, etc. that you've put in. Then interview insights, any summary that has come out of that. Similarly, infrastructure, the map, and this is not loaded for some reason. But yeah, so this final summary is what each of the jury will be looking at. So this kind of gives a overall view of what you've done so far in the problem understanding. So when you do your final submission, of course we submit any pitch deck that you have, but this is what comes as the main output to the team that is shortlisting. So have a look at this, see how many red there, how many greens, and have you actually got some valuable insights from your interviews. There's your map. Actually, are your past results, is there something that you can do about the past results? So many things are still red. What are you going to do about it? So all this is kind of information that is thrown by the system. So I haven't done any market understanding. I've just put in some beachhead numbers, etc. But I've not done any actual analysis or market study. So when you submit this to the jury, this is what they're going to look at. And this final section, which is the market specs, kind of pulls in, or based on all the tags that you put in there, it says what are the main things that you're going to work on in terms of your final solution. So these will also kind of give the jury an idea of, okay, this is my problem statement, and this is how this is the problem statement, and this is how the analysis has progressed. And based on this analysis and based on all the information that you have done, these are the main things that are going to be the specifications of your final product. These are the market specifications that you're going to look at. So typically what would happen is that you take the market specs, convert it into product specs, convert the product specs into product features, create the prototyping cycles, and then start working on your product development. So this is the platform in a bit of a rush, yes, I know, but I'm open to look at the questions now. You will have Ekanto, they will have access to the data, meaning that they can see what has been oh, you mean after the challenge is over? Yeah, I'm sure there won't be a problem in reopening their problem summary, because it does make sense to have access to whatever they fed in. And ideally, yes, we would want people to keep using this as a kind of a place where they keep coming in. So as they run interviews, just come in here, keep putting in the data. So yes, we'll make sure that even after the challenge is over, that their logins are available. That, I mean, the login will definitely be available, but we will reopen everything. So now what happens is once you submit it for review, they won't be able to edit it. But once the challenge is over, we'll remove this whole submit process and open out everything, so people can come back in with their existing logins and start editing whatever they have already put into the system. Yeah, let me just look at the remaining questions. One person company, I don't see a problem with OPC taking part. Let me just get back on that. But as of now, I don't see a problem with the one person company. So as long as there is a registration, it should be fine, in my opinion. But if there is any restriction on the OPC, we will definitely put it on the microsite and as part of the eligibility criteria. Yeah, CIN will be fine. So you can just use your CIN. That's fine. Anup has asked. Madhukar has asked. So it could be either the CIN or a GST. DIPP, I know many may not have the DIPP registration, but if you do have it, please put it in. But at minimum, if you have the CIN, that should suffice. No, there are no prerequisites. So whatever you have won previously in terms of grants, if you're being incubated anywhere, if you are being part of an accelerator program or a fellowship program, that does not have any bearing on the challenge. You can just come and take part in this challenge. Yosha has asked if we can download what we have filled in as a PDF. Yes. So this final problem summary, I think that's just that we're yet to add that thing. But then you will be able to download this final summary as a PDF, and that feature should come in over the next day or so. But as I was saying earlier, to answer Ekanta's question, even after the challenge, as long as the challenge is running, once you submit and you log in and you come back, you will still see, you will not be able to edit what you've submitted. But once the challenge is over, we will remove that restriction and allow you to come and continue your work and continue editing whatever you put in here. So it's going to be here, and it's on our AWS and is being backed up, etc. So there's no loss of data and is highly secure, so don't worry about it. And you can come in at any point and start using the system, editing, creating new problem statements, working on new problem statements. If you're like doing additional research, etc., you can come and use the system just as a documentation. We have in fact, we've actually had some of our Wilgrows incubatees who have said who are looking at using this, even though they are revenue stage companies who are in the market making sales, etc. There is always secondary research that is going on. So they keep meeting their end users, they keep meeting people who are using their products and services, and so all the information that they have now is very scattered. So they're looking at using the platform to just keep track of any kind of secondary research that is going on. So it's kind of one place wherein they can come and tag and they can search and easily get whatever they want. And if you're working as a team, it's easy because team members can just keep putting information into the system. Mirun has asked what kind of support will Wilgrow give. From the challenge perspective, we will guide you through any issues that you're having in using the platform. But post the challenge, since we're expecting a lot of idea stage companies or individuals to take part in this challenge, it's unlikely that we will be able to provide any kind of funding support because that does not fit our mandate. But in terms of using the platform, or even just how do you go from step A to step B, what are the things that you need to do next, etc., anytime you can shoot out a mail to us and we will guide you on how you can go through this whole problem analysis. And that's something that we will continue going forward as well. As in, if anyone's using the platform and kind of stuck in a particular area and doesn't know what to do next, we're always there to kind of help you nudge you on to the next step. Um, yeah, I think Anup has asked if there would be any recommendation by Will Grow experts to help solve a problem that has been highlighted, even if we don't win. Yes, we're always open to keeping the conversation going. Let's see how it goes. Uh, I'm sure we can definitely put you on to at least people who will be able to guide you in next steps, etc. Even if Will Grow is not able to, doesn't have the bandwidth to actually put in that kind of effort. But yeah, definitely, I'm sure that if not for us directly, I'm sure we can help in helping you reach out to the right people who can guide you. Yeah, so Yosha, so as I said earlier, even though it's asking for GST and TAM numbers right now, for just to start with, maybe you can just put in a dummy number because that's a prerequisite for the registration. I will so that you can start working with your work. But at the time of submission is when we're going to move this registration information. So at time of submission, we're going to make it that you need to have a GST TAN number. But for now, just put in your dummy information, and I think there should be a way for you to edit it in your account. If it's not there, we'll bring that in so that you can edit it at the time of submission. Few more questions on the Q&A box. Yes. Does every applicant get feedback after the review within the platform? Now that may be a little difficult just from a bandwidth perspective. We'll see what we can do. Maybe you can reach out to us and then we can figure out how we can support you in your journey after this. Yeah, so the thing is, because we have built this platform and this is an asset that we are taking out into the whole ecosystem, even after the challenge, this platform is going to be available for you to continue with your analysis and with your journey. So if you, even if you don't win this win the first, even if you're not shortlisted, the information that you put here is something that you can either go back and refine, or you can just download it and probably reach out to I don't know, maybe you have a mentor that you want to talk to, or maybe you just want to reach out to someone at Will Grow itself, and we'll see how we can make that happen. Can't promise anything right now because everyone's a little stretched all the time. But in terms of actually taking what you put into this, it's not wasted effort. So you put it in here, it's going to help you do your deeper insight. Maybe you get insights and you figure out a way of actually bettering your solution, or maybe making small changes in how you've been approaching the problem. So that's the point of the platform, for you to be able to gain better insights, to be able to do a much more holistic study of your problem. So whether you can take that information and go to someone else. So if your next step is to reach out to incubators, this would be the final output that you get from this would be a ready reckoner which you can start the conversation with. Yeah, I think that kind of has covered all the questions. Yeah, there are a couple of others. Anup has asked features to help with cost and production analysis. I'm not sure whether we can bring that in for the challenge right now, but this, in terms of a long-term strategy for the platform, we're always looking at ways and how we can make it more relevant to our end users. So we've tested it with a small group of people, and now we've opened it out to a much wider group of potential users. So feedback like this helps us refine and figure out what else that we need to. So CapEx, OpEx, I'm not sure whether it would feed into this part of the life cycle, because we're talking really idea stage and we're not yet gone into production, etc. comes a little further down. So maybe next from this would be something like building your business model canvas and then taking it from there. So things, how do we actually either one extend this to be able to move towards production and towards actually the sales part of the life cycle is something that we will be considering later on once we kind of get this part right. But also, is it something that entrepreneurs are doing at this stage is something that we are considering, we are thinking about, and it's a lot of conversations that we are having internally also in terms of we've kind of tried to simplify the problem understanding, problem analysis to these 8 steps. CapEx, OpEx, maybe later on, but not as part of the challenge for sure. Mirun has asked, I'm strong in mechanical and will provide IT support for our idea. No, actually, Willgrow doesn't work. I mean, we work with little more mature entrepreneurs and startups, not really in the idea stage. Mirun, you can reach out to me separately. I'm available at hira@willgrow.org. So if you want to have a bit of a more discussion on this, I'm sure we can take it offline too. Yeah, so this is where we are at, and I hope this session was useful in terms of how do you actually go through the whole problem analysis and understanding workflow. And we've seen, I mean, we can see where each of you are at if you've already started working on your problem statements, and we've seen that a lot of people have been stuck at the first few stages of problem analysis. Some have gone up to actors, a few have done the map, etc. But it's probably a little difficult to understand what is the workflow that's built in, which is why the primary intent of the session was to kind of help you understand how you can navigate through the platform. Quickly, one thing is that you can, if you have registered as a startup, you can invite people in your team to start working on this. So it doesn't have to be only one person who's doing in the data entry or putting in the information, etc. So you can invite team members, and this is for people who are doing the registration or submitting your responses as a team or a startup. So do use this feature, so it's not just a one-man job or it's not just one login, but you can get more people on to do, make it a little more of a, it's not really a collaboration, but people are all, you and your team are basically working on the same problem statement. So now, as I said, you can do as many submissions as you want. So if I have 5 problem statements that I've been working on, I can submit each as a separate entry. But as far as, I mean, it doesn't make sense for you to submit different flavors of the same problem statement. I mean, it'll kind of go against you a little bit. So if you have various ideas and you actually want to use this, then go ahead and do that. Yosha, you're having trouble registering? Yeah, could you just reach out to me at hira@willgrow.org or to info@willgrow.org, and we'll walk you through the how you can go ahead with the registration. Great. So please do reach out to us at info at the contact information is there on the microsite. This email ID, you can send us an email if you're stuck anywhere, if you find any bugs, if you find any issues that are not which are preventing you from moving forward. Reach out to us. We will get it sorted out immediately. We will have once as I said, till April 15th, registrations are open. So everyone just start working on your problem statement. So from the 16th to the 30th, you can have 2 weeks to kind of perfect your final presentation. At that point, we will be sending you little bits of information how you can actually make it better, what kind of icons you can use, make it look a little cooler, how do you actually make your presentation eye-catching so that when you're doing the shortlisting we can see it. Urge you all to please, just spread the word. Anyone who is in your network who's interested in, who's working on an idea and is kind of not sure on how they're actually going to be moving forward with that idea, what do they do with the idea after that light bulb strikes, please tell them to come on to the platform, take part in the challenge now, and even beyond the scope of the challenge timelines, the platform is going to be available for anyone to use. So hoping that it actually helps all of you entrepreneurs, innovators in your journeys. Okay, with that, I think I shall close today's meeting. And as I said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And good luck to everyone. Look forward to seeing your challenge submissions. If you need any help in getting people on the platform, yeah, spreading the word, if you need, I mean, you can follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Share our posts, that would help in getting more people onto the into the challenge. Get your friends in, start your companies, register as a small companies, get your teams together, etc., and take part in the challenge. So good luck everyone, and I'm very thankful that all of you were here today. And yeah, goodbye.